Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Little Things Podcast. I'm Bethany Warner.
And I'm Rachel Hines.
And we have a special guest today.
Yes, very special guest.
Cassie Thelen
Yep.
is the director of our ECDC here at Messiah. What's your official title?
ECDC director.
Oh, well, there you
Right?
go. Good.
Yes. I don't know.
I like that she looks at me.
Well,
I don't know. Director.
Toddlers and preschool,
Yes.
you oversee all of it.
Yes.
So Rachel stepped down
Yes, I handed over the crown.
to Cassie.
We had a, what do you call it if it's a crowning
I like
ceremony?
the crown.
I'm just thinking
diaper.
of Princess Diaries.
I know,
The
but what is
pull-up.
it called?
Oh, coronation?
Yes.
Coronation.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Yes.
Yeah.
We should have done that.
We should have.
That, we could still. I have,
Instead of being whatever during chapel that day.
Commissioned, installed.
Installed instead of installed.
we should have coronation.
Coronation.
This would be super fun.
Miss Cassie demands a crown. Okay.
False. That is not true.
I like it.
We can both wear fancy dresses.
We should all get gowns.
I love it. This sounds like a great plan. Who cares about potty training? Let's just take this
exactly.
time to plan
You know who
the
would
coronation.
love that so much, though? The
Braylon.
toddlers and the preschoolers. And Braylon. Okay, random story. We went to a wedding this summer. I told you this.
I think is it the one I was at?
We
No.
went to Katie Borcherding's
Yeah.
Oh,
wedding.
yeah.
Braylon loved it so much. And after they kissed at the end, she leaned over and said, I think that was true love's kiss. Isn't that the sweetest, most
my
wonderful thing?
Oh I think it was too.
It
Yeah,
was
I
true
agree.
love's
And what a
kiss.
magical wedding. It was just everything
It
about
was
it
super
was
cute.
perfect.
It was the best wedding.
It's not going to be as good as the coronation.
We can use that as
this
a
will be
guide.
fun.
Yeah.
This will be the next party. The
Yes.
coronation, Cassie's coronation.
Okay.
Okay, we are recording.
I forgot. I forgot. I didn't. I'm excited about this.
Cassie's here today to share her infinite wisdom of potty training.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cassie, before we get into the potty training, tell everybody all about your background.
So I went to Concordia University, and I have an elementary degree with an early childhood endorsement. And because I didn't do early childhood at the time, I only ever really wanted to work with toddlers. I got hired on at Dimensions after I student taught there to start after I got married that following summer. And that's where most of my learning came from besides college. A lot of my core philosophy and the things that I believe for early childhood came from there, and being outdoors and enjoying nature and outdoor classrooms and just so many things. I had so many great mentors there. But we were kind of at a turning point and things were kind of changing there. So I was looking for another job, and I had been talking to Matt Stieber, and he hooked me up with Rachel, and we met, and she's amazing. So that kind of sealed the deal. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And at that point, kind of got hired on as a toddler coordinator. I worked at Dimensions for 11 years and was in the toddler room all the time.
I think we have to pause, though.
What?
What was your official title when you got hired?
Oh my gosh.
She hates this.
So story. So Rachel and I are talking, and she's like, okay, so I'm thinking something kind of like Educare does, where you're called, what was it? The master toddler teacher.
Toddler master teacher.
Toddler master teacher, but we're not really going to call it that. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Kind of explaining the concept of it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And so she's like, but we're not going to call it that. And so then I started, and I know people like Scott Gunther and other people that like to give me a hard time here because we go to church here, and my husband grew up here. And so they were like, hello, master. And so they would we had a new facility. And so everybody's touring everybody constantly, just for fun, popping in, showing their family or friends or other congregation members or whatever. And every time, Pastor Andy, everybody would be like, this is Cassie, the master. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Master toddler teacher.
Stop. So, yes, that was a really fun intro to starting working here and being made fun of. And then right off the bat, I think
That's how you know you're loved.
I know. Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, it was good. So, yes, got hired on as I will call it toddler coordinator now because that's the new title and that's a way better title. And then Rachel and I kind of talked and it kind of morphed into assistant director and morphed into then preschool director and now morphed into director or preschool coordinator. But yeah, so toddlers is still my love. I was in a toddler room all day yesterday, and it was good. Diaper changes and potty training and all, but it was great. I have 2 girls that go here too. Emmy is in 4th grade here, and Kayla is in Purple Room here in pre-K. So it's been great having them here too, and we go to church here. So yeah.
So toddlers everywhere. How many years total have you worked with toddlers?
So 11, because I didn't get to do any student teaching or anything with toddlers. I was in a toddler room at my old job in Wahoo for like a short time, like a summer or something. I was in a toddler room. And then I always taught like toddler preschool-ish and Sunday school when I was like in high school. So I don't know how many years I've been here, 11, 12, 13, I think 14 years.
Yeah. That's a lot of toddler time.
That's good.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, this last year, obviously not 100% toddlers, but
Sure.
yeah.
So you have a little bit of experience.
Yes, I like to think so, a little bit.
We should have you on for multiple subjects. But
Yeah.
Okay.
today, because I want to learn everything from you, but we should have you on for our audience, but mostly for me personally.
It's getting close to potty training
is.
time
It
for Miss
is.
Bethany.
Little Danny Dave, which I can't imagine.
I know.
Maybe we'll just never potty train him. Maybe I'll just
That
be a
would
diaper
probably be
forever.
rude.
That'd be a blast.
I advise against
Not a
doing
good
that.
idea.
Trust me, by the time he's like 3, you'll be like, okay,
I'm
when
sure.
are we getting potty trained? Let's go.
Yes. So, okay. Let's start at the very beginning.
Oh goodness. Okay.
What are the first signs of like, okay, we should start this process?
So I am very much follow the child's lead 100%. If you push them into it, it will backfire 99% of the time. So if they're interested in sitting on the potty, a lot of times it happens like before bath time or after bath time or something like that. Or when they wake up in the morning, they kind of get a little interested. So getting a potty chair at home is sometimes helpful. Some kids that helps, sometimes it doesn't. My youngest was kind of more like we got it when she was really little just to like practice sitting because she was so tiny. But she was one that like would prefer to sit on like the adult sized toilet. So either way, but to kind of get them, like let them sit, let them try it out so they're not freaked out and those types of things. But a lot of times they kind of flip the switch for you. Like you don't have to push them into it and they just all of a sudden want to sit and you're like, okay. Or they start telling you like, I'm poopy. Like once they have a little more language or I just peed. If they tell you they peed, like that's impressive. And so then it's like, oh, we should try to go on the potty sometime. And those types of things, but definitely follow their lead is my biggest.
Well, and every child is so different.
Yes,
right. I
so
think
different.
That's the horrible trap that we fall in as parents so often is that we look at our child and then like, oh, Susie over here has been potty trained for a year. Why isn't Danny Dave potty trained? They're the same age. Well, because they're different and they're developing differently. And so don't play the comparison
And that's
game.
okay.
And a lot of times boys potty train later than girls.
Yep.
Not always, but a lot of times that does tend to be true.
So signs are they're interested in the toilet. They want to sit on the toilet. They're aware of they have gone to the bathroom. They have a poopy diaper.
Words, so being able to communicate that, like being able to tell you. So if they're too young and they have 0 words, that's not helpful for anybody. It's not helpful for them. It's not helpful for us. And so typically we say like between like the ages of 2 and 3, a lot of times 18-month-olds go through this. Like you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to potty train right now. And they get super interested and you're like, okay, here we go. And they might even be in underwear for like a week and then it's done.
Interesting.
So that's been a fun thing that I've noticed that it's like, oh gosh. And there are a few that it does stick. But in 14 years of working with toddlers, I think I've maybe one for sure, maybe 2 or 3 tops. And so it's not very common, but it is very common to go through like a really short phase of being super interested and then not doing it again for like a year.
So when you say backfires, would that be like they just pee all over your house? What's backfire mean?
So backfire means a lot of things. So typically instead of like, if you wait for them to kind of give you the signs and tell you they're interested and wait for them to decide it, it goes really quick. Like they're completely potty trained in like a couple of weeks, minus like a few accidents here and there, obviously. But then if you push it on them and they really weren't ready, then you're potty training for like a year.
Yeah,
And you're constantly changing like poopy underwear because the poop part is so hard.
Right.
It is so hard. I really don't know why, but it is for almost every single child. There are a few that it's fine and it's not, but that's typically the big hang up. They can pee on the potty, they just can't poop on the potty.
Yeah.
So
We had one of Maddie's therapists this atypical, right? Because Maddie wasn't bladder trained until she was 17 years old. So different. But when she was little and we were talking about it, and of course, you get to be friends with the people that are so important to you. So we're talking about Brady at the time of why we were struggling with toilet training for him. And he's so bright, great communication, could get his pants up and down on his own. Something else to think about. Like, can they do that on their own? Or do they have that physical ability? And she said, just think about it. This human that's 3 years old, 2 years old, they have so little that they have control over, right? But they have control over when and where they're learning that they have control over when and where they pee, when and where they poop. And some kids, especially if you're pushing it as the parent, we want to be out of diapers, and you're pushing it, you're taking away their control because you're forcing them to do something. And it's all about, so like Cassie said, if you're giving them the choice and going with their lead, they retain that control. And it's
fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to ask this later, so not to jump ahead, but I have had 2 conversations with people in the last 2 weeks, I think, back to back to each other, where they're like, oh, my child only goes to the bathroom at my house, but if we're anywhere else, he won't. Or he'll only do it at childcare and at home, but he will not pee at grandma's house or something. Or poop.
same here.
Just kidding.
right? I don't like public bathrooms either, so I get it. Right?
But so would that be a control thing, do you think? Or
I think that's a scared thing.
Yeah.
So one thing that my oldest discovered, we were out shopping one time and she was newly potty trained. Like she was potty trained, but it was on the newer end. And I didn't even think about it. And I put her on an automatic toilet. And they're too little. So it just flushes while they're still on it. And it's kind of traumatizing.
It's scary.
So she didn't ever act scared, but she did not use a public bathroom for a very long time.
that makes sense. Shoot, you probably didn't. You can do that so easily without even thinking
Yes,
about it.
I didn't even realize. I didn't even think about. And at that time, like at school, when I'm potty training kiddos at like childcare, we don't have automatic toilets.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even think about it. I just set her on there, and then all of a sudden it flushed, and her eyes got really big, and she like jumped off, and I was like, oh no.
Well, and even if you
just
think
traumatized her.
about a toilet like at school or in a public place, the toilet looks different than the
does,
toilet you have
yeah.
at home. The normal flush, even if it's not automatic, is a lot louder. There's so many differences.
Key, if you don't know this, on an automatic toilet, put your hand over the sensor, and it won't flush until you take your hand off. So if you stand over them and while they're going to the bathroom and you hold your hand over it and then move when they get off. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Do not touch it.
Put your face right
Yeah, like just like hover your hand around it a little bit to block the sensor and it's fine. But then it
Probably
won't
going to be
flush.
spray.
I have so many questions. Some are gross. I'm going to get to those later. Let's go back.
Good.
Gross questions are good.
Okay. So my child's showing signs. They're interested. They can pull down their own pants. They're talking about it. Now what do I do?
Okay, so I've gotten pretty good at my little spiel, I call it. So, okay, that's great. And like maybe they've sat a couple times at school. Like a lot of times if we hear that from a parent, then when we change their diapers, we'll ask, do you want to sit on the potty? They might say yes, they might say no. We're cool with whatever. And so we do that. And so then I always say, okay, take like a long weekend, like maybe Labor Day weekend or fall break or something, or if they're not at school on Fridays and Mondays or whatever, and try underwear and see how it goes. And message me Sunday night or whenever they're going to come back to school and say like, hey, it went really well. We only had like, they're obviously going to have some accidents, but if it's not like constant, then okay, we think they did pretty good. Then I am very much, all right, bring them in underwear. Let's go. I am very anti pull-up.
Okay.
There are certain situations that, yes, pull-ups, but a lot of situations not in terms of that. Usually it's for like children that are like a little bit bigger, or like the diaper just bothers them, like bothers their skin or something, then you might need like the 360 pull-up / diaper thing. I have recommended that a few times for those specific situations, but it wasn't really for potty training purposes. But a pull-up really feels like a diaper.
Yeah.
And then if they poop, a pull-up doesn't hold as much.
Really?
Yeah, like no, like not at all. Because it's a pull-up, like it's meant for the training part. So yeah, I'm anti-pull-up. And so I always say like, yep, let's
Underwear or
go.
nothing?
Underwear, bring a whole bunch of clothes. Try to bring maybe like some Crocs or something, like if you can in like the summer, Crocs, something that's easy to kind of spray off, bring an extra pair of shoes. Cause a lot of times if they do pee, it's a lot of pee, and it's like it's all the things. So yeah, bring a bunch of extras and we'll keep in touch and let you know how it's going. Sometimes
You can't see my face.
I can see your face. But yeah, that's kind of my general spiel. Also so like with my youngest, sometimes that weekend went real bad and you're like, nope, we are not ready for this. And that's okay.
And then you wait a couple months.
And then you wait like a month or so and have them still ask if they want to try and like kind of encourage it, but not push it, and try again. Like, okay, we have a long weekend again. Let's give this another go. For Kayla, it was several times. And then it finally was like, okay, that was pretty decent. We got it. Okay, cool. So it's okay if it takes a few times. But then to like stay, if it went well and you're like, yep, let's do this, then like staying in underwear, or like deciding, nope, we're not going to do it. It didn't go very well, or it didn't go well enough for us. Stay in a diaper. Don't like flip flop. Like if you start underwear, like be prepared to commit to underwear. Like yes, pull-ups or diapers for naps and bedtimes and those types of things. Yes. But yeah.
So then you're, okay, we're going to start this weekend. We're just talking super positive about the bathroom and talk about, like, at this point, he knows what it would feel like to have to go potty. And so just saying, if you need to go potty, this is stop and go right away is what Daniel Tiger would say.
Yes, you're right. So actually, though, them being able to tell you that they have to go potty does not come until later. Even if they are potty trained and like newer in potty training, typically they still can't tell you right away that they have to go. And so you have to give them reminders. But if they're not having accidents in between those times, so I would start like when you're first starting, like very first starting, maybe every like 30 to 45 minutes and kind of see. And then like try to quickly go a little longer, like hour and a half.
And just say, we're going to go sit on the potty and see what happens.
Let's go try to go potty. And those types of things. Some people do like sticker charts, reward types of things. But that I'm also kind of like all in for potty training. Like I will do what you want me to do. If you want to give your child an M&M to go potty, then fine. And that's what you do at home. Like we want to be consistent with what you're doing. Or if you do a sticker chart, we'll do a sticker chart.
Oh, gotcha.
Those types of things. We're good at like sneaking something to a specific child if need be or whatever. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry if these are dumb questions.
No, they're not. They're not
We're
dumb
starting
questions.
from scratch.
They're not
over
dumb
here.
questions at all.
So, would he get an M&M for just sitting on the potty, or it has
That's
to
up to you.
produce something? Okay.
It's up to you. It depends. So like there are some kids that like maybe they're 3 and you're really like, okay, we really kind of need to like push it a little bit because they're on the older end. So then it might be, or if they're terrified, like there are some kids that are just absolutely, utterly terrified of the toilet and sitting on it. So then it might be, you get an M&M if you sit on the potty. So like it depends on the situation and how your child reacts.
Well, and I think, there's always those helpful people that say, your child's not going to get to kindergarten and not be potty trained.
Right.
But what if they do?
Sometimes that happens. And I think every child's different. So understanding that like our first one, honest to goodness, 18 months, she potty trained herself. Like literally, she was the first child. So we're like, why is everybody complaining about this? This was so easy. She 100% did it herself. But that was the bladder training. The pooping part was more of a challenge. But then she also did that herself. Like we lived in a house where you could hear the trains go by. And so she'd be playing and she'd go, it's a poo-poo choo-choo. And she'd run, and she had convinced herself that when she pooped, if she heard a train, it was going to take her poop away. So she created that all on her own,
Love
except this poor Jasmine, if she's listening, she does listen to our podcast. She's going to kill me.
We love you, Jasmine.
But she was like, she came up, she knew the support she needed. She's just like, she's got a high emotional intelligence and she understands that. So it was like, I need a cheek. And so we'd have to go put our cheek right next to hers. But she was able to man all that and she could do that on her own. Maddie, totally different story. We get to the male child. I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to get so
You
much
did
trouble.
say earlier, but we won't.
But he's so smart and had control, could dress himself, like was dressing himself really, but had no desire at all to do the potty training thing. And we tried everything. Like he loved cars. So it was, we got the cars underpants and, even like, oh, that's Sarge, you don't want to get poop on Sarge. And of course, what did he do? Immediately pooped on Sarge and told us, Sarge is tough. He can handle it.
Like it doesn't mind.
and then that was when the conversation about being in control, but also and then when Lily came, we found those friends that we knew, our children's personalities are similar, or our doctors, and we're asking when it gets to that point, when unless there's something physically wrong, they're not going to probably not be potty trained when they go to kindergarten. But you need support of people that have maybe been through that same experience and going and reaching out and just so that you can hear that. Oh, every child's different. It's not the end of the world if your child's not potty trained. I don't know.
Something with my youngest is that after potty training children for 12 years, I obviously can't potty train my own children. That was a complete different story than potty training other people's children.
Funny.
But it was fine. But so Kayla her brain thinks very differently. And so she was potty trained with pee, no problem. She would ask for a diaper to go poop. Okay, cool. Emmy did that for a week. So I was like, perfect. Yeah, let's do it. You still know when you have to go. So that's fine. Let's do it. So we did that. And this was months later. I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we still having this problem? And finally, it was in the summer. So she doesn't come in the summers. And she was in my room in the toddler in my first year here. And so she was in my room with me. And we kept saying if you're not potty trained, you can't go to preschool. You want to go to preschool, blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of kids that works. Apparently that was the wrong thing to say to her. That is literally why she wasn't pooping in the toilet.
Because she wanted to stay with Mom.
She didn't want to go to preschool. So it is I'm putting her to bed one night and she said something. I don't remember what it was, but then I looked at her and I said, are you not pooping on the toilet because you don't want to go to preschool? And she was like, yes. And then busted into tears. And I was like, honey, I have a key to your classroom. I know who your teacher's going to be. I know who's going to be in your class. We can look at it on Sunday after church. She got up at 11 o'clock that night and pooped on the toilet.
Oh my goodness.
They're so smart.
Please stop.
They're so smart.
So weird things. I never would have. So now I add that when I talk to parents, so they might be thinking this, because I had never seen that before, that there was a pinpointed reason. And once you talked about it, then everything was fine and dandy and we were good to go. So weird.
Joe, has there ever been so much talk about pee and poop in your office before?
Joe says yes. Oh.
She's like, whatever, I'm ignoring you guys.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question. I don't know if this is a controversial question. I don't know anything.
This is exciting. I like controversial Bethany questions. Don't let us down.
Oh boy, I'm scared.
Boys.
Yep. Oh.
They sit when they pee when you're potty training, or do you have them
I
stand?
love the way this is one of my favorite things about Cassie. This is genius.
So they sit backwards.
Oh.
Because so they straddle the toilet. Not everybody does this. This is how even if there are boys that maybe don't do that at home, that's how I have them do it at school because I don't want pee everywhere.
Right?
So if they straddle the toilet and sit backwards, they don't have to point anything down. It just works that way then automatically.
Because they're kind of balancing on the back.
Yeah,
Ish.
it works as I don't even know how to explain it. It just works.
Okay.
And so that's how I always start. So what I do is a lot of times they want to do it themselves and they take all their clothes off or whatever. So what I do is I encourage them to take one leg out. So we take one shoe off and pull our leg out of one pants and underwear or diaper or whatever. And then we sit backwards and go. And then we get off and put it back on. I had a little friend that I didn't realize he was still doing that when he moved to preschool. And the preschool teachers were like, why is he doing that? And I was like, oh, that was because of me. I didn't realize he was still doing that. Sorry. And a lot of times they grow out of that fairly quickly and some don't. And that's okay too.
Well, and it almost has to do with their size too. Because if you're not tall enough to stand, I mean, that's a great intermediate option, you know?
Standing is always interesting too. Because I'm all for standing. Like, okay. But I'm like, have you ever done that at home before? Yeah. And so I'm like, ask the parent, has your child been taught to stand up? Because if they don't really know what they're doing, it can be interesting. But maybe they have an older brother and like so it comes on along a little quicker. Otherwise, a lot sit forward and point things down and whatever, and they're able to do that, but not every child's able to do that. So I don't want to clean up a pee mess on the floor all the time, so I'm just going to turn you backwards.
Okay.
That's super smart.
That's genius. Okay, so if they sit, I feel like I'm asking
You're good.
anatomy questions now.
I know.
If they're sitting forward, it will go out of the toilet.
If they
sit normal.
So if you pull their pants like all the way down to their ankles and you help them scoot back and like
tip
them forward, kind of.
Well, this is going to sound really bad. Spread their legs apart.
Yeah.
Like, if you like push their knees apart, so then it's kind of the same effect as sitting backwards.
But when you're reversed, you have to open your legs.
That makes sense.
And so that's why,
Thank you.
Gosh. Okay, that was uncomfortable.
Draw a picture for me.
I can show you.
So one of my other favorite things about Cassie is when she gets uncomfortable.
I love it.
She starts to get red.
And I was already hot anyway, and it's hot in here, so there's that.
But now we're
we're talking about uncomfortable things.
I'm a little disappointed you're not as red as I was
hoping. We're not on the Google Doc, but
okay. I'm feeling good about. I feel like I have a good understanding of that.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
If
not, come find me.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a good understanding of that.
So like little teeny potties that go in like a little potty training chair.
Yep.
Would you have them sit backwards on that?
No, that probably doesn't work.
Yeah,
it usually has its own little blocking
thing.
mechanism so that doesn't happen. It usually does that for you.
But
so they're
just
fine.
a normal toilet.
Yeah.
Did you use potty chairs for your girls? You may have said that.
I did. Emmy used it for a while. Kayla used it for a little bit when she was like getting used to sitting, but then she was the one that would rather sit on the big toilet. So we got like a step stool. So like usually at most child cares, they have like little toddler sized toilets or preschool sized toilets or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
Very tiny. And so it's easy for them to just sit on them like a normal toilet. So at home, we got like a step stool for her. There are all kinds of different things now that you can get, like the ladder with handles that has the extra seat that sits on top of the toilet, like very different things. She was able to hold herself up. Like she was tiny, but like she could hold herself up because the fear is them falling in because that also traumatizes them.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. And so sometimes they have like the extra little insert thing that you can set on top of the toilet so that they don't fall in that has like characters like Mickey Mouse or something on it. So they have those too. But she was one that I had that available for her. I had the potty chair available for her, and she would just rather sit on the toilet. It's like perfect because I don't have to dump it, so I don't care.
No, we bought potty chairs.
Kind of freaked me out.
They're kind of gross.
Disgusting.
They're
You have to
super
clean
gross.
them, and then we bought one for each of the kids, and I think all with 4 children, I think they got used a cumulative of like 3 times, and then they just sit there and
yeah, they're gross.
I don't know.
And then you have somebody come and use them.
I threw it away immediately when we were done. I was like, all right, we're going to get rid of that now.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, very good. Those are all the questions I had in my brain.
Okay.
But what else anything else that you can think of?
A common I can't think of the word. Lincoln.
Misconception.
Right?
You were ahead
I
there.
was right, but I don't trust my words right now. Is that if they're potty trained, they also need to be potty trained at nap and bedtime. Oh. That is not true. So if your child is potty trained and they, I would rather put a pull-up on them or a diaper on them or whatever you would like for nap time than have them pee on their nap mat every day and wake up soaking wet because that's not comfortable.
Right.
Well, and that feels kind of like I don't want to say failure to them, but
they feel defeated or whatever. So that's totally okay. Like, especially if they're good, hard sleepers, like their bodies can't wake them up yet. Like they don't have that sensation. They can't feel that yet. And at nighttime, especially if they're like a good sleeper and all those things, like they sleep through the night, then they're gonna pee. I would rather them sleep than be like, oh, you have to wake me up if you have to go potty and go in and go. No, I would rather you sleep all night and just put a diaper on them. And I would always do a diaper because a lot of times they do pee a ton at night and pull-ups don't hold as much and then they pee through everything. So I always did a diaper.
Expensive.
And pull-ups are more expensive. That's my other thing. I teach them to take a diaper off. Like when I've been in rooms, I've taught them to take their own diaper off and throw it away, and then I'll put a new one on them. And a lot of them can pull a diaper up and down kind of anyway, like a pull-up. So I get it. I understand the pull-up thing for that piece, but typically they can do the same thing with a diaper. So
Interesting. I didn't know this whole big pull-up conspiracy. That's really just a waste of time and money.
and a waste of
Marketing,
money.
Yeah.
don't you think?
Good to know.
And okay, this is going to be controversial. The 360 diapers.
I don't
Okay,
even
tell me
know
about
what
them. I
this
know.
is.
I've
I've
accidentally bought them once.
I'm out.
Okay.
So the 360 diapers, there is like a new, I think it's like a Pampers, and it's called like a 360 diaper.
I bought them once.
Because you can
on
turn it
accident.
any way you
That
want.
looks like a pull-up.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't have so you have to take the child's clothes off to put it on.
That's true.
Those are a lot. Just saying.
So I accidentally bought them
I'm just
for
gonna throw that
Daniel.
out there.
And it was a period of time where I actually enjoyed them because he's small, so I guess I take his pants off anyways
Oh, okay.
when
okay,
I'm
okay,
doing
okay.
it at home.
Yep.
But also, he's such a wild animal. He's like a little baby alligator, where this was easier to not have to do this. It was
the
like
straps.
straps, and he's done.
And you could do it when he's standing up easier.
Yeah. Or when I'm holding him even, and,
Yeah.
because he was wild. But,
That's true.
but my mother-in-law and my mom watch him, and they did not like them.
So let me also put this in your ear. We have 12 toddlers in our room.
It's a different experience.
I'm just saying.
can't
While we're
imagine.
on the pull-up / whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw that out there to whoever's listening.
Don't do it.
12 toddlers, man.
Use them at
We
home.
can't take everybody's
So what
clothes
I
off.
heard was Cassie really recommends these new 360.
I think that's what they're called. I don't really
No,
even
I think
know.
they are, yeah.
I think but they're marketed as a diaper. They're not
Why is
marketed
it-
as a pull-up.
That seems like a really weird
Because I think it like holds as much. Because it doesn't have the
Turns all
tabs.
around?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't move. It moves with you.
360.
It moves with you.
like 360,
Because
360
It
degrees.
doesn't have the tabs.
It's like a pull-up.
It's a pull-up that
I
doesn't
know,
have the
but
tabs.
I find the name to be very dumb. It's bothering me.
Write a letter.
Cassie finds the
Just
thing
don't make
itself to be
them.
dumb.
Just
I
don't
find
make
the
them.
name dumb.
That's what I would say. Again, for some kids, they are very helpful because there are certain situations that, like if your child rips their diaper off all the time and they
Right.
can't rip that one off, cool, I get it. But
I could see, like, honestly, Maddie had to go in adult pull-ups
Yeah.
because there's not very many. Like, honestly, most kids go to kindergarten potty trained. It was really hard. Something like that would have been beneficial
Yeah,
for
yes,
her because,
yep.
man, we went through a decade of constant leaks because a 6-year-old
Yes.
can't easily wear adult small pull-ups
Right,
and not
Right.
leak.
Yep.
So,
And they make size 7 diapers now.
see,
That's a
smart.
newer thing.
Yeah.
That didn't used to be a thing. It is now.
I also, so this could be a hot take, a little hot take before Cassie has to go because she keeps getting messages
No,
on
it's
her
okay. I was
watch.
just checking the time. We're good.
So what do you think about potty training? The age, do you think it's changed over?
I was going to mention that, so I'm glad you asked that. So I have seen information. I have not dug deeply into this, and I don't even know if it's like super accurate information. But from what I see, I do kind of think it's accurate that a lot of even 4-year-olds are going to preschool and pull-ups. And I don't know why that's a trend.
Do you
And-
see that here?
Yeah. And it seems that kids are potty training later.
Interesting.
And it's not like, it's not just boys, just like there's no consistency in it. But I definitely see that a lot more now. In the past, like maybe 3, 4, or 5 years, you can see that that's kind of been a trend that's been happening. I don't know why that is. Again, I have not dug in to research this or anything, but I have noticed that too. And I've seen articles and things that have talked about that as well.
I don't quote me because this could be incorrect, but I'm almost positive the CDC milestone.
Oh,
They've
yes.
changed the milestone for potty training. I want to say it's a full year. I want to look it up.
I know that a bunch of milestones changed.
Yeah,
And
Really?
and
like
that's
walking
been-
changed too.
and
Till
that's
later?
been since COVID.
Yeah.
Really?
But
I would think kids would potty train sooner because of COVID. And also at this point, we can't blame COVID anymore. Just saying.
I know COVID is
But
4
I
years
think
ago.
I know.
Like the
but-
2-year-olds, though, they weren't born yet. Like you can't blame COVID on that. Sorry, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. I left. Never mind.
Let's talk about masks.
I'm out. Yeah, oh my gosh. We're not going into that hot topic, but just saying that, like, I think a lot of it did come out because of COVID.
Well, and I think there's societal changes that happen.
Yes,
that
for sure.
Then create, even if the development of a child is ready, maybe as parents, if we're not as connected and paying attention, talking about watching our child's cues, if we're not as attentive, we're going to miss those cues and we're going to miss that window. And maybe that comes later when we start to panic a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting. A good psychological topic to dive into with somebody much smarter than I am. So.
Ditto. Yep.
Okay, well now, is there a window where if you miss it,
Oh my gosh,
you
I
miss
should've
it? Because now I'm scared.
That was at 14 months.
So I will say if they're on the older end and they're going potty consistently for like a week or two and they can go in and they take off their own stuff and they're telling you that they have to go, please ride that, because sometimes the window does kind of close and that was your window and then you do have to force it on them and then it backfires even though there was a window. So follow their lead.
Well, and I
just
also
do
think
it.
it's super important if there's something that as a parent, even if it's not when they're older, but if something just doesn't seem right, and talk to your doctor, like, and make sure that there's not something physically or more wrong, that should be addressed.
Yeah.
Parenting is so like, okay, because you're given these like milestones or whatever, but then it's like, but don't freak out if they,
Yep.
don't hit them at the exact time. But
But
also,
do a little bit.
kind of freak out. But also every child is
Just
different.
keep it in mind. Keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Keep it in the back of your brain.
But don't force it.
But
But don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parenting, it's like menopause.
So
I don't
hard.
know what I'm doing.
Don't do aerobics. Do aerobics.
Yeah, it's so
like,
hard.
I know.
Don't you feel like
it's
with almost
common sense.
anything in life too is you find whatever answer you're looking for
Yeah.
on the internet. If I want to find,
Or you'll find crisis and chaos
Yeah.
and anxiety if
Yeah.
you are looking to be worried. Yeah.
so really, I'm just gonna say, Lord, potty train my child. And then also, Cassie, potty train my child. Daniel, we're gonna go spend the weekend with Miss Cassie.
Also, on that note, I would suggest blankets on your couches and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
They
I'm
sell
just
amazing
saying-
pads that
I'm
you could
just
put.
saying, they could. I had we did layered blankets because Emmy was pretty good about would stay in one spot. Kayla's a very different child. Does not stay in one spot. So that was a little more difficult, but she also didn't sit much, so it was fine. But just a side note, they're going to have accidents and that's okay, but it might be on your couch. Be prepared.
One of my favorite potty training-ish stories is my very first week of teaching ever. And we lived in Western Nebraska in a smaller community. A lot of the families were either farm families or, kids spent a lot of time outside.
Oh,
and
yep.
a group of boys, over the summer, they were getting potty trained, getting ready to go to preschool. And the parents were smart and they're like, okay, you're going to run around the backyard with no pants on.
Yep.
And the very first, here I'm very first teacher, and I'm, so we're getting ready. The first day has gone great. We're lining up to go in off the playground, and there was a playground area. You had to walk across the sidewalk to get back in the building, little tiny area. So everybody would line up along the fence. So I'm getting everybody lined up and chasing probably somebody that hadn't. Morning has gone great, and I see my teacher's assistant, who is one of the most lovely women in the whole wide world, just kind of chuckling. And I look over and I see 8 little arches going over all
my
these,
goodness.
one little boy went over, dropped his drawers, and they all followed suit. And they're all just peeing. And I was like, oh, well, this is where I lose my job.
Here we go.
The health department probably has something to say. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, how
Okay,
adorable
well,
is that? But it worked. And so, of course, I'm telling the parents this story. And they're like, honestly, that's how we potty trained, is we didn't want accidents all over the house. We spent our whole weekend outside at the end of the summer. And it was great. And they're doing great. But apparently sometimes they pee outside.
Oh, funny.
So that is a really good side note too. So that's like a common practice on potty training, is like the not wearing anything, like the naked one. So a lot of times that does work pretty well, because it does make them be like, oh gosh, and like they do recognize it a lot quicker. However, I have had a couple of children that then when you put pants on them, then we don't know what to do with our life and we pee all the time. Like it's a very weird thing. Typically the naked method goes fairly well, but just know that there are some that then when you put underwear or pants on them, then it might not go well.
It doesn't translate.
So you have to like work up to it, like do a couple days and then work into like underwear and then pants and all the things. But
I've seen Daniel with shoes. I think he would enjoy the naked method.
Yeah, I know he would.
I don't think he'd ever go back.
He would love it too much, actually. Naked baby alert. That's what we yell at our house sometimes. Running around naked.
Be perfect. This was super enjoyable.
Cassie, thanks for coming.
yeah, of
The
course.
next time we can have a recap on the coronation, and we can like who wore it best.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
We can have like a debriefing and like a talk about the coronation and how we can have a gossip sesh.
I love it.
Yay.
All right. Thank you, Cassie. You will be back on, just so you know.
Okay.
This has been a Messiah Lutheran Ministry production. Subscribe to Messiah Lutheran on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also find our worship services and our Sermon Extra podcast by searching Messiah Lincoln on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our content. If you'd like to know more about Messiah Ministries, visit messiah.us. We'd love to hear from you as well, so please email us at littlethings@messiah.us.